hold up, I shot the same scene twice. Same space, same camera, but the results were night and day. Today I'm going to show you guys the difference between amateur cinematography and something that actually looks like it could be on Netflix. We'll break down why the first version fell flat, take you guys behind the scenes and show you guys how we elevated the same scene on our second attempt, and show you guys that it had nothing to do with the gear that we were using, but everything to do with the lighting, the composition, and the performances that we captured.
I warned you about this.
Before we talk about how we made this shot better, let's analyze why the original didn't work. Take a look at this first shot. There's not really a lot of depth in terms of lighting or even architecture or just overall space between the subject and the background, which is leading this shot to look a little bit two-dimensional. The lighting here is really just one color tone. It's a warm color tone on the character, and then it's a little bit cooler of a color tone in the background. And then I would say that if you take a look at all the angles that we shot, there could be a lot more dimension added just from a composition and a coverage standpoint.
Yeah, I love it. That's texture. Right now, let's just leave it the way it is. Let's first bring this up. Let's start setting a frame. I also like how kind of like, it looks real. It looks kind of gritty. It's harsh shadows. If I would describe to you what I'm going for, it's a dirtier, grittier look.
For the reshoot, we came in with a better plan, a bigger crew, and most importantly, we added a really talented cinematographer in Sherman Johnson. We brought him in just to help us elevate the overall visual of, what we were trying to capture on film.
I was gonna mention even just coming over here, like not being so straight on.
You know what? Let's do that. I think let's do that. Let's make that move quick, guys. It's kind of like here-ish.
We started by choosing a better camera angle. Instead of shooting flat against the wall, Sherman suggested shooting this scene at an angle, which instantly gave us more depth in the frame and also gave us room to build layers with props and lighting.
It's almost like something needs to like come across, like it needs to like slash across.
We have plenty of wood.
We added things like wooden pallets and ladders and just threw in a bunch of these big cardboard tubes.
It's definitely looking good. It's starting to look better. I'm liking it. Sherman, do you think like maybe like on like hanging or something? Yeah, right?
Because if you have hanging over here, it'll give you an out of focus, whatever.
Yes.
The brightness will take this mush and give it some.
Yes, I agree. Now it is character time. Now you gotta get into character. You gotta take the hat of director DP off, and you gotta put on the hat of getting into character. Beaten, bloody, distressed, scared, angry, anxiety-ridden.
Well, let's put the sticky stuff first, because it's kind of like the that's where the actual wound starts to.
So we started by adding fake cuts and blood to my face by using 3 different types of blood makeup. Once we had my face beat up and mangled, it was time to start adding blood to my shirt. And that's me, working on those scrawny arms.
Right there. A little higher.
The first light that we started with, and the light that we really based the entire scene around, was this tungsten little light in this dingy lampshade. And this light was set to about 2500 Kelvin. And this really just gave a warm tungsten glow to the front half of my body and my face. Then we added an Amaranth 300C set to 5200 Kelvin, and we boomed this up overhead on a softbox, and we had it just behind me. Because this light was set to 5200 Kelvin, what this does is that it gives a nice cool ambience to the entire scene, and it gives color separation between the warm light that's hitting the front of my face, and you can tell right away that this sets a nice rim light around the back of my shoulders. And again, it's about color separation and giving that contrast. Now the next light that we added was an aperture infinity bar set to this teal color, and we also added another Amaranth tube light set to this teal color on the back wall over here, giving another layer of color separation. Now you have 3 layers of depth and color. And then the final light that we added was another warm practical light, which was very important because this helped give color separation again between, bluish teal in the background and a warm practical a little bit closer to the subject. Now this wasn't a lighting fixture, but it did play a big role, and that was using this big V flat on this side of my face to give us a little bit more depth and shadow.
Is that where you want him? You want him a little bit more, I think he comes a little bit left, frame left, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Sherman, that's you're getting closer.
Yeah, dude.
When we were lower, it was better.
Yes, it does not have to be actually his shoulder, it can be his sleeve.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, much better, dude. Once the wide shot was locked in, it was time to move in for coverage. Now, we started with a basic over the shoulder, which is great for dialogue because it gives a little bit of depth in the foreground while allowing your character to be in the middle ground and then having a distant background. Again, keeping things in layers with depth and dimension. In the edit, okay, we're gonna first show my hands tied up, like I'm kind of like coming up into frame after I've been beaten.
Yeah.
You're walking towards me, and at this point, you're kind of like taking off your rings. You're kind of like,
Which you won't see any
you
of
won't
this.
see any of this, but just I want you to get into the mindset
Right.
of you know you're kind of coming in.
So I'm just kind of like sizing you up now because this is the moment right before I.
Yeah, and then you're gonna come in and kneel down. I want you to go through the entire action.
3, 2, action.
I love when you take the cigarette and you use it. You know what I mean? Like use the cigarette, point at me.
Something that's extremely important that I really try to pay attention to while I'm on set and while I'm working with actors, including myself, is really dialing in those little details and nuances in the performance of the actors on screen. As a director, it is your job to guide the emotional tone of the scene and to really pay attention and recognize when an actor is doing something really well.
Come in like you're gonna rope him, but don't rope him. But in that that level of violence.
Violent,
You know what I mean?
violent,
That
like-
intensity, that like
Yeah.
you're here and then step in. Action, guys.
That's good right there.
Beat.
Yeah,
That's all it
no,
is.
that's all we needed.
After we got the coverage that we needed on the sticks, which is really mainly covering the dialogue, then we switched to handheld. And I love mixing tripod and handheld in a scene because the tripod steady look almost gives it this tension and this stillness and sort of an unsettling eeriness about this scene. But then when it switches to that handheld, it's so jarring. We intentionally did this because we wanted to make the scene feel a little bit more shaky, a little bit more intense. And that's why we went handheld when things started to get a little bit more physical, because it gave that chaos and that energy and a little bit of unpredictability to the scene.
That's the angle, and you'll roll. Camera is speeding, set, action, you're ready.
Too much?
Oh, well, it went a little too far.
To get the blood splatter, you know, instead of just like spraying it on the floor because it wouldn't look real, we actually put some blood and water in our mouth and we did like a spit take, and we had to do it over and over again until we got the right amount of blood to like hit and splatter on the floor.
That sucks.
You didn't practice this.
Let me try it.
Dude, that's a lot.
It took us a minute, but we finally got it.
I think this is a problem. What if I just did a left, right? Because you're able to. When you do it from the side.
No idea. But it's so specific of the space you have to. No, for the uppercut, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what you're getting at, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to be so much in alignment with the lens.
This was definitely one of the scariest angles because we've never done any kind of action scenes or choreography for any kind of action stuff like this. But doing these punching scenes, we had to make it look real.
1, action.
3, 2, 1.
The second one is great. The first one is a little.
Yeah, you can tell that it's like there's distance.
Just don't fucking
The
rock
uppercut.
me.
No, there's no way. I can't do it slow.
No, dude.
Just pull the punches. Just hit me. Just pull the punches.
I'm just gonna get closer.
Just fucking hit me, bro. Just pull the punches.
We had to practice and rehearse it on set right in front of everybody, and then we had to kind of go through it a few times to make sure that we got the real motion of that scene.
1, action.
So now that we are wrapped up with all the angles of shooting in this direction, now we needed to reverse the shots and get Ian's perspective and his over the shoulder.
But I think you can do it, and then fine, we'll kill the green on the, or have it so low.
Yeah.
But there was an issue. We were definitely running out of time, and in order to reverse the entire set, it would not only take a lot of time but a lot of work.
So like we're just gonna redress the background
Yeah.
and make it darker.
We're tighter anyway. So, yeah, totally it works.
Okay, let's do it.
Instead of flipping the set, we just flipped the actors. We put Ian in my spot and we shot over my shoulder and got Ian's perspective. But We just changed up the background a little bit to make it look a little bit different, but still try to keep it in the same world. And it worked like a charm.
Something's happening, boys and girls.
You always come to this place looking for answers. Problem is, every time you get too deep, you look away. I warned you. I warned you about this. Don't forget that this is what you asked for.
No.
Look at me. This is what you asked for. And I'm gonna fucking give it to you.
No.